to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Go ahead and call this meeting to order. First item is to approve the agenda. Is there any changes?
Number 8 should just get rid of the words change or number 4.
Should be removed or
It just those words, just those 3 words. Yeah.
We're just gonna have a discussion for over the scope of the.
just a discussion.
Yep. With that change, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of Monday, August 7th, 2023 minutes.
I'll approve, they were short, too short, but what the meeting was. I'll approve minutes. They were had a good representation of what the meeting was.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1, we have a Carroll County Public Health Department update. Go ahead and come up for Megan. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Right. So I know it's been a little bit since we've been up here and time flies, but here is just an end of the year financial report. Just to kind of show where we ended the year. On the financial side. So the top shows the revenues that were brought in through the various grants, and then the expenses broke down to and then just the difference on the bottom. So the overall tax asking ended up being a little over 37,000. Budget was 75. So hopefully a good year, I would say. And now we're started the second year, so
So
it's
let me have a question on these revenues. Are these gonna be pretty standard every year or are they gonna be a
so
questionable?
most should be pretty similar. The local public health services grant, that third one down, that is being there's that changeover. The state is taking the money and putting it towards population health services versus not population health. So you'll see less in the home care aid budget, more putting into. So this current fiscal year now, I think public health shows 30 or 32,000, and then it's left in home care. So that grant, and then overall that grant will phase out in the home care side, but we'll continue on the public health side. So in public health, it'll go up. The BEP grant, Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant. So that is, we don't always know what we'll get out of that. That's money we get a lot of our COVID stuff. Things like that, but it's also kind of a pass through. If we, it's money we get to spend on something and then get reimbursed.
So every year it could be, it could
Right.
fluctuate.
Yeah, it's just kind of a projection from the state too. So,
So you'll probably continue to have for 75,000 be saved.
that's, yeah.
Especially for next year. We'll talk
I think
about-
get 2 years under your belt before if we have to readjust that.
That's a result too.
Yeah, it's, we're hoping to now kind of start doing more activities, getting out and doing things. Last year was a learning year, figuring out what needs to be done and.
The salaries line, that's for 2 positions, correct?
So that would be full-time. Well, Maggie was part-time,
Okay,
for 6 months and then went full-time. And then Carrie and I have a portion of
Okay.
that.
because you guys get paid through different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That will change a little bit for when Maggie's full-time this year.
Right, so Maggie went full-time in January of last year. So this current budget should be full-time.
That's why it'd be nice to leave that budget alone for a couple of years, just.
Well, and the thing is, with this, the state doing an HHS thing changeover,
No, we,
I don't know where it was,
right.
You know, when they start farming some of this off, somebody's gonna be having part of that, and it's gonna get less out here.
Yeah,
Yeah. Looks good.
Yeah,
no, it does look good.
no one knows what'll happen with that.
Let's not get into that discussion. I'll tell you what I think it would really, about 3 sentences,
Any other questions on the
maybe 4
financial?
words.
Okay, so then just kind of a fast rundown. I was just gonna kind of go through what we've been doing. This is back since March. So it's, like I said, it's been a little while. I was just gonna kind of run through some of the things we did. If you have any questions, you can just stop me if that works. So back on March 14th, we did a gambling screening day with new opportunities and then Plains Area Mental Health. So went there, had Your Life Iowa 1-800-BETS off, provided brochures, resources. So that was held at Plains Area Mental Health, nearby the hospital. So it was back in March. March 23rd, Maggie attended a Central Iowa Healthcare Coalition on radiation training. So that was more on emergency preparedness kinds of things. March 15th was a Live Healthy Iowa at Swan Lake, that public health had a part in. And it was well attended this year. We had a lot more numbers, so that was good. In April, there was a GNR train derailment simulation out at Swan Lake Conservation Center. And that was held in conjunction with Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. So that was a emergency preparedness drill that was held. In May, Maggie went and got child car safety seat certified. So she is now able to install car seats, and she can go out and do those, like certify them so that they've been installed correctly. She did attend the New Opportunities Back to School Health Fair here, I think it was that last week, August 9th. And she did a few out there. So, and the good thing about this now is, so New Opportunities had car seats, but you had to have a certified person to install them in order to get them out. And there was nobody in Carroll County that do that, or that had that. So Maggie now has that. So she'll be working with them as well. June 7th.
Just back up, those car seats didn't, yeah, didn't he, does he do that?
He used to, but I don't know if he's still certified.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't live in Carroll anymore. I think they live over by main property.
West side.
Yeah.
On June 7th, we did a emergency preparedness communications drill with the Iowa Homeland Security. EMA was there. It was held up at St. Anthony's, the ER, Manning Community, the ambulance center. And it was kind of to prepare for, we needed to do a drill, emergency preparedness drill, and then it was kind of done in preparation for REG to see how the radios would work when there was thousands of people in town and that. So that went really well. And so that was on June 7th. Then on June 8th was the Business Leadership Network Public Health Forum that was held by the University of Iowa Public Health. And Mike attended that at St. Anthony's. It was held up there. This summer, we got a grant for sunscreen through the Iowa Cancer Consortium. So we've been providing sunscreen like Reg Rye, Manning took some, New Opportunities got some. So that was just a grant Maggie applied for, just strictly for sunscreen. There was no funding with that.
You use a lot of it at Ring Rock?
Not a lot at Reg Rye, but it's been going throughout the county now, and it's been, we got 3 gallons and we're down to 1 gallon.
Yeah.
So. So then July, we had Reg Rye. A lot of supplies were purchased through the emergency preparedness grant that was approved through the state. So that was nice. They were able to help out. We had the ambulance, some of the smaller towns like Wada, Maple River, or not Maple River, Mount Carmel. Got some supplies through that. We started the family planning clinics that finally went through. The contract was approved with Crawford County. So Hope Jensen is the provider for that. So the first clinic was last Monday. They didn't have anybody actually sign up for that, but they're hoping going forward we'll get people in for that, so they can do like birth control, STD testing, pregnancy things. The next clinic will be September 12th, and that's an evening clinic, 4 to 6. August 15th was that New Opportunities Back to School Health Fair out at New Op that Maggie attended and did the car seat checks. We've been continuing to work with the Stevens Group on the child CHIP, the community health needs assessment. So now we're working on that improvement plan, the CHIP part of that. So that's still kind of putting together our working points, what the assessment, said, and what areas we need focus areas to work on.
So you extended the contract with Stevens Group then?
No, so when
Or is this part of
the
the fall?
the Stevens Group was part, they were to help with the first year of the project, or this next, I would say the next.
Transition.
Yeah,
It was part of the original agreement to go.
yeah, was to do help with that, so we're moving through that. We're working on the Carroll County Resource Handbook. Molly Scott with New Opportunities is helping with that. So been meeting to do that. That's been around forever, but it's not been updated for several years. And it's got everything for Carroll County in there. So it's a really nice resource. So working on getting that up to date. The audits will be starting again at the schools September. So actually all those are set. So September will be busy doing the school audits again.
What do you
September.
audit? Just curious. What do you audit the schools?
So all daycares and childcare, certified childcare centers, and then schools have to be each child's immunization audits, that they've met all of their marks, or they have a medical or religious exemption.
So do you go through every file, or do you do go through every file?
Wow. Yeah, so like in 7th grade, they have to have a meningitis, so we check to make sure they got that, or it's flagged and we send it back. So yeah.
Is that state mandated?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yep, yeah, so it takes a lot of time. School audits are due in October, beginning of November, and then childcare audits are due before the first of the year. So we do schools right away, get them done, and then we'll start childcare centers, usually like October, November,
Who does this?
maybe in that. And last year, I don't know if you guys remember, but last year the numbers were great on that. We got out early and kind of got those kids that didn't have their immunizations, got to the parents or the school, and then they were able to turn it around. So before we had to submit the report to the state, we had those numbers pretty well, close to 100%. So that's a good thing.
That was 100% after you did the audit.
Just about, yeah. I think if I
So
recall right,
what
I
is
think,
it before you do the audit? Just rough.
yeah, so I would say there's usually, we find at least a good handful out of each school that there's something missing. Sometimes it's just, it didn't get put in the system yet. The state database, IRIS is what that's called. So it's just going back and finding that record or contacting the doctor.
Same way with daycares.
Yeah. Sometimes a little bit more, because there's so many immunizations and a smaller time frame. And so we might do the audit, today, and that kid was just eligible to get a shot yesterday. So, there's that grace period, but yeah. So yeah, that takes quite a bit of time in the fall to do those, but now that we did them last year, we know what we're doing. I think we'll fly for them. So that'll be nice. September 7th, the hospital is hosting a birthplace grand reopening. So Maggie's going to go up there to offer car seat checks for anybody that would want that. They reached out to us and asked if we would do that. So she's going to go up there. September 13th is Senior Fun Day at the Carrollton Center from 9 to noon. So we will be out there for that. And then in October, so it's a little bit off, but October 24th will be the flu shots for the county 2 to 4. So, and that will
Where's that gonna
be
be?
to be determined, depending on,
Oh, you're gonna have one
Instruction and-
flu shot clinic?
yeah, for the county. That'll be the county one. to October 24th.
That's the only one you're planning on doing it.
For, yeah,
Yeah, depending on construction, probably makes a difference.
yeah. So I mean, we've got plenty of time. So I'll just kind of right before. reach
I
out
think in
and
October, this
see.
main floor is gonna be in the heat of it, so
Okay, so we'll have to figure out.
do you think you could maybe coordinate with Jason Christensen out of the education center?
Or if they wanted to come over to the Bricky building,
Yeah.
Do that too.
Building.
and there's plenty of room.
Oh, yeah,
there.
right there.
You could have an open house while you're doing it. A lot of people probably never been there.
So yeah, I just have like, well, the place will be two things, but that'll be kind of coming up. So October 20th.
The only thing about having those, we do have a big turnout.
Parking.
Parking. That's why I was thinking the conservation center,
I
if they'd
think
be
that's not a
willing,
bad
because they have
idea.
such a big parking lot. But they'd have to be willing.
Sure. So now I do that all kind of fast.
No, it's great. I appreciate the update. It's nice to hear it. I mean, I know Mike sits in on your meetings and we get an update, but it's great. You guys are doing good.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Have a good day.
All right, item number 2 is Region 12 RLF investment update. Mr. Rick Hunziker. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good.
First, I have this for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You get a gift from your
There's,
own.
here, Rick, just pull.
You have to be cool to get gifts.
That's true. No one wants to sit by you. You know, I could sit there, but then I might vote.
Go for it.
So, yes, and you get gifts if you come to the 50th anniversary. So. Which is in Templeton, which is a short walk for some of you.
Huh, somebody could make
And I
that
do
work.
what, and somebody probably was one of the first ones that signed up.
I don't know if I've RSVP yet.
Okay, what I want to talk to you about is our EDA RLF. And the first thing I'm handing out is just an update. This is from the beginning of time in 1995 when we got our first award to today on this is total from then until now in the last 28 years on where investments have been made. Now, the original county investment is the reason that it's different between the 4 or the 6 counties is because the very first award we got from EDA was a disaster award. Crawford, Greene, Guthrie were the only counties eligible. And so we put the application in. This is my predecessor did this. And then those 3 counties split the match. And then while it's sitting in Denver, Carroll County got a federal disaster declaration, which made them eligible. So they dumped more money in, but they did it by population. So Carroll just matched what theirs was, which is why it's higher than the other counties. For Audubon and Sac, they were not eligible, but at that same time we had, and that was 3-for-1 money, by the way. Audubon and Sac could get 4-for-1 money out of USDA, which we got money out of a national grant competition for them, which was only $25,000 was their initial investment. So a little bit less than the other counties who were, I think they were 29 something and Carroll was 32 something. Regardless, eventually they both got federal disaster declarations. Years later, they were amended into that first fund. And so everybody just traded and said, you're eligible for ours, we're eligible for yours. And so that's why those investment numbers are different. We made 144 loans to date in the region, totaling about 13.5 million. And that is, we didn't have all of our money in the beginning. We had about a $900,000 capital base in the late 90s. Then we loaned money from USDA. We loaned money from USDA again. We got another disaster grant. We got a supplemental disaster grant from EDA, loaned more money from USDA. And then EDA during COVID doubled the money they had given us. So we got 1.8 million in a grant, which we got out in 6 months a few years ago. So the bulk of the money and today we've got access. Our capital base is about 7.2 million, but a lot of that came in recent years. So that's why when you think in terms of you have 7.2 million, it wasn't all there 30 some years ago when this started. So about $13.5 million worth of loans, you can see the amount of equity leveraged. And sometimes we've made 100% loans to businesses, especially during COVID. Other times we were maybe 10 or 20% of a project. And you can see we count everything, and this is from our application. So in some cases, there may not have been as much investment. Usually there's a lot more investment than what they put in their app, about 108 million in region. And again, from what businesses have reported, 1,400 jobs. Now, this is a list that I will give you of all the businesses since the beginning of the fund in Carroll County that we've loaned money to. You'll notice some of these businesses don't exist anymore. Some of them may exist, but they're under a different name. You'll see everything in here from some of the larger Carroll industries to mom and pop shops in downtown, which is a lot of what we did during COVID. We're 100% loans to these Main Street businesses. And so those full-time jobs created or retained, that's what was in the application. That isn't necessarily what happened. The same thing with the other funding. But the loan amount is the loan that we would have made the business at that time. We also, our limits have changed because each fund has its own lending limit. So in the beginning, we could only make about $100,000 loan when we started. Our out of one fund, probably the largest loan we can make now is close to 500,000. If we pool funds, we can probably get to 750, maybe closer to 2 million. Depending on a project that may need it. And again, this is not, or not again, just a reminder, you may have heard that we got the meat and poultry loan through USDA. None of those numbers are included in these. That's a totally separate fund because it's a statewide and beyond fund where we can loan funds. So now back to the topic that I'm here for. You will recall that I had requested from all 6 counties $50,000 in match to seek some additional funds from EDA, primarily for a revolving loan fund. When I did it, there was still ARPA money out there, and we applied for the ARPA money. There were 3 districts in the Denver region that applied for ARPA money. We all got denied because they said, we already gave you $2 million and you're all if that's enough. Even if we pointed out that we spent it in 6 months, we could probably spend an equal amount again. They denied all of those out of ARPA. So we have at this point collected the money from all of the counties. And so that's a total of 300,000. There is now a new, primarily because of the disasters in the Southeast with the hurricanes, there's a new disaster NOFO or notice funding opportunity out. And that can provide 4-to-1 money, 20% match. So I applied because the Denver region has funds that they were also awarded. I applied. Carroll County and Crawford County are not disaster declared counties. At least 18 months ago, you had to have a disaster declared in a specific window. The other 4 counties, because of the winter derecho in February or March of 22, have disaster declarations. So they were eligible. I applied for all 6 counties based on what EDA would call a district rule. Given that we're a district, we have a district fund. Economies do not stop at county borders. Therefore, if a business starts up in Carroll, it's going to help Sac County or Greene or even Calhoun as a declared county. Shelby is a declared county. That we would have more of a reach. And the district director, I think, was okay with that, but legal at EDA in Denver and at National said, you're just not eligible because Carroll and Crawford are ineligible. So they kicked the app back and said, take Carroll and Crawford out, reduce the amount, and give us a closer nexus to the disaster. I'm not really sure how I can get a closer nexus to the disaster. I've asked them what that would be.
What was the disaster?
The disaster was a winter derecho.
Okay.
So I said, am I supposed to erect big fans or like a big wall so that the wind doesn't blow? Because it seems to me like the best thing to do, if that's going to impact primarily ag, which is a major part of our economic sector, it seems to me that funding things that make us resilient to that, meaning other types of industries that aren't dependent on row cropping, are a way to make our region resilient and react to the disaster. And they said, oh yeah, that makes sense. Say that. Well, I did say that. So we'll see if I can say it in different ways. The key here is that they don't want Carroll and Crawford to be, well, they can't be eligible. So what I'm here to discuss is if I can get, and they want me to establish some sort of deal flow. They haven't done that before, but businesses that would be interested in loaning the funds. These would be funds that would be 25% of the capital base is as much as you could loan. So this is almost a $400,000 loan that a business would be eligible for. They have to create jobs, and our interest rate's 4 points below prime. So it'd be 4.5%. We've typically done 10-year loans. We haven't done anything longer than that, even though we have financed buildings. We don't like to do construction because this would carry with it all of the federal regs, so environmentals, and although it doesn't take the whole project. So we buy a lot of equipment, we do a lot of working capital with these funds, which are things that, and we don't compete with banks. So it's easier for us to do the working capital than a bank to do the working capital, just because of how we collateralize it, and it will sit second, third if we have to position on some things. So what I would like to do is still keep your money and Crawford's money and seek more grants. That gives us, we can get 4-to-1 money and so what I had proposed is a $1.2 million grant, $300,000 in match for a total $1.5 million fund. Should Carroll County and or Crawford County get a federal disaster declaration, that's a FEMA Stafford declaration, you'd be eligible and we can amend you in. That will happen someday. On average, probably every 3, 4, 5 years, Carroll County gets a federal disaster declaration for something. Same with Crawford. So whenever that happens, we would amend you in. Worst case scenario, when this fund gets defederalized, you'd be eligible. It gets, now there is on the books, it used to be that we had to report forever on these funds and that they were always federal. A few years ago, our National Association got a standalone bill through Congress, which was like a star rising in the east, that defederalized these funds. So our board, we have this original fund that I talked about that everybody paid into, and our flood funds from 2008 and 2012 have been defederalized. So the only thing they carry with them is still Davis-Bacon. Congress did not let go of that, but everything else was defederalized. So what does defederalization mean? Well, for us, it means we don't have to report every 6 months or a year and have to be worried about where it is. So it's less of a pain. It also means we can do things that they don't like us to do, like spec buildings. We were absolutely could not do it. We couldn't do speculative land acquisition. We couldn't do anything with alcohol. So if we did, like, say, Carroll Brewing Company, we could only do certain things with it, alcohol, tobacco. But it can also be used for any economic development purpose. We propose to our board that the loan fund has been operating well, and that essentially all the money that the counties have put in is still there and it's still out there creating jobs. And so all of our defederalized funds, we still are still revolving loan funds. The other thing that you can do is make whoever eligible you want to make eligible. So when this defederalizes, should we be awarded, it gets defederalized 7 years after it gets closed. Worst case scenario, it gets awarded January 1st of 24. It closes January 1st of 27. January 1st of 34, you can request defederalization. And in that case, if Carroll and Crawford weren't eligible, the board can make them eligible at that time for that fund. The 4-to-1 money, if Carroll County decides they don't want to be a part of it, then we have to make some decisions about how we want to proceed. But the 4-to-1 money is not something like if Carroll County gets a disaster declaration in 3 years that we'll be able to get necessarily. I can't guarantee it because it only happens when Congress awards funds. So Iowa getting 6 or 7 counties with a disaster declaration, unless there is some big national thing going on, it's going to be hard to get funds. And then that's going to be its own standalone grant application. It isn't that we can just amend you in and add your money and add grant at that time. So now would potentially be a good time to do it if we can get the deal flow in. I have talked to Crawford County about it. Crawford County said that was fine to leave their money in. A couple things to remember: you you own Region 12, so you collectively all own the assets. Even if you aren't part of it, and we get a grant for the other 4 counties, you own 1/6 of that grant because of your own, I don't know how, if you all decided to disband Region 12, how the money would split up. I don't remember in the 2080 if it's equal or per capita, but everybody's kind of been equal since I've been there. You match the trust fund equally, and you've matched all the loan funds equally, even though you have population disparities between the counties. There's always kind of been an all for one for all, at least since I've been there on the board, that everybody tries to help each other out. So I'm going to be quiet and see if and the other point is your businesses. So if you had a Main Street business that wanted a 4.5% loan, I wouldn't be able to give it to them out of this fund, but we have a bunch of other funds I can help them. So it's not like your businesses would not have the same opportunities in other funds. But I'm just interested in how can we secure federal funds back into this region, and then 7-10 years from now, when I may or may, and I probably still won't be here, but who knows, that there would be some flexibility as to what the Region 12 board felt is the best use of those funds, and it's money that's available today. But I don't want to, I want you guys, if your money's in, I want you to tell me that it's okay for your money to be in, because it impacts, your county isn't going to be eligible for these funds until either you get a disaster declaration or it defederalizes.
So you leave it, it's there already.
Rick and I had this conversation earlier this week, and I said, in my opinion, I was still in. Eventually, whether we get a disaster declaration.
Hoping for disaster.
No.
I
Actually,
don't
we're
want to
not.
hope though.
But you can defederalize it, and that money's still there. And then if you look at their numbers and the things that it's done, economic development and things like that, I mean, it's been earmarked a few things, and I've got questions just for you, but I don't know. In my opinion, I think you leave it and go forward. 4-to-1 money's pretty good. Anybody have any questions? I know it's a lot, especially if you don't ever sit on the Region 12 board. It can go. Except for you. Why are you looking at me like that?
What? I mean,
It's a lot of information, and it's
a lot of
hard to
information.
understand if you don't sit through some of the meetings out of Region 12.
Yeah, this is a fund we have not lost much money out of. We have lost a few projects. Some we have in our USDA, where we've loaned the money, we've got a loan loss reserve. And so we've been able to cover the losses out of that. And we fill that with the admin that we make off of it. And so when I talk about capital base, the county money plus the grants is the capital base. We don't pay ourselves out of the capital base. We pay ourselves out of what we make on the fund. We have an application fee that we charge a business to apply. It's 1.5%. We don't cash that check until we take it to our loan review committee. So if we go through and it doesn't look to us like a great project, we'll let the business pull it if they want, and they don't pay anything. If they want us to take it to the loan review committee, then we cash their check. There's no other closing cost. It's that 1.5%. And then it's whatever we make in interest or interest in the bank. That's what pays us. It funds the loan loss reserve for USDA. And for those, we have 4 USDA loans that we have to pay back. And so we've got, depending on the size of the loan, 25, 26,000 a year over, it's a 28-year amortization that we're paying that back. We pay all of that out of our admin so far. Now the really lean years of interest being charged, that hurt our ability to be able to pay back USDA. But to this point, we haven't dipped into the capital base to pay that back. So far, everything that's in the fund has been returned in the fund, and we haven't lost anything. That doesn't mean that isn't going to happen, because we have some large loans that we make. But
Yeah, but you've got a good track. I say 2 years. It's been spent already.
It would also be if you are okay with leaving it there, it's also my intention, if they come back and say, we're not going to give you 1.2 million, we'll only give you 800,000. And then that's what our match is, that I would split that match 6 ways and then return the money back to the counties that we don't use. But that's a bridge I hope I don't have to cross, because I've got to work on deal flow and those other
So you
forks.
say the original was 97? Original,
1995.
95 was our first one.
your predecessor did that?
Roy got he put that together, and he left in October of 95,
Well,
Johnson. So he got that first grant together. And then he put the application for the USDA fund in, which is the one that we got right as he was leaving that fall.
no, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we need any formality on that? No.
No. No, I just want to make sure you're all okay with it, because you can understand without being eligible how I wanted to see how your feelings were. And if you go back and you think he said X and that has a question, let me know. If you've got any questions about any of these projects, some of them I might remember, some of them I might not. Tammy Lehman is our loan officer, and so she's been working on these projects. And now Scott Steffen, he's primarily working on the meat fund, but he's helping us with these two because we've got quite a lot of funds. So
Are you getting a lot of utilization of that meat fund?
Not yet.
not yet, but we have a $10 million application in. Remember, it's $15 million fund. And we've got a $10 million application in hand for a very large company. It's in Eastern Iowa. Their project is actually, they need the money for is in Illinois. So I did talk with the board at the last board meeting to see whether or not that was okay. We had talked about it 2 months ago. This month, the board said that was fine, primarily because this particular business is a co-op. And like 80% of their owners producers are in Iowa. And so the company itself, with the owners being in Iowa, any profits go there. And then with the growers, producers, the benefits going out primarily to Iowa. There's 63 on their list. 6 are in Missouri. There's 1 in Minnesota, 1 in Illinois. They provided that list to us so the board could see who it was. I didn't share the individuals. I just shared where they were from, including there's 2 in Carroll County. And so we're going to go on a tour of West Liberty, Scott and I, Thursday, and then we go to Bolingbrook, Illinois on Friday to the company. So, and that'll be the first one. We've had some interest. There was a project in Spencer the board turned down. We've got a project in it's up in Iowa Falls. Maybe it's in Iowa Falls, and it's a locker. The board needs some additional. We're waiting for their final financials from 22.
What you're taking care of for the whole state, right?
This is for the entire state. Yes,
15 million.
it's 15 million. That's a little bit different. We charge a 3% closing cost on that, and then our interest rate's 50% of the time. But my goal was to make it attractive enough that we would get it out the door. And if you do the math, it's something that should help us operation-wise. But it's owned by Region 12, and the Region 12 board makes the decisions. Our loan review committee on that, I put together a statewide committee so that it includes a couple of state officials on it, so that we had a broader perspective, because, you know, the meatpacking industry is its own cat. And so I wanted to have some people that were more familiar with it. And then, of course, we hired Scott Steffen to help with that. So hopefully it'll work out. This particular company has been around a while, and they're looking at expansion, but and I mean expansion of growers. I had talked to them prior to us applying for this, pushing them to find more growers in Western Iowa and in our region so that we could bring some more wealth creation here. So they tell me that's their plans, but we'll talk to them more about that on this visit.
And at first, when he brought that up, the pushback was the fact that it was based in Illinois. And then, so it was tabled until they could produce the numbers of how much it impacts the state of Iowa. And with it being 90% in the state of Iowa helps.
When that 15 million is gone, is there other income somewhere, or is there other loan opportunities for you guys to get or not?
On that, that was a splash one program with USDA. However, my goal would be if we can get the money out and still have demand to approach either Mike Neg or Debbie Durham about additional funds, state money into it. I know there is like the Iowa Meat and Poultry Association would be supportive of that, just because the interest, particularly now, that interest rate is 4.25 after this most recent, which is pretty good to help a meat packing company. And after we loan it the first time through, we can do anybody in the middle sector. So we can do transportation, we can do packaging, we can do cold storage. This first time, it just has to be related to slaughter. So it's not actually a slaughter facility that we'll be going to. It's in Illinois. They are the slaughter facility owns this company, and it's actually a sandwich facility that they've designed equipment that I think pretty much fully recognizes sandwich making, because it's tough to find employees. And by doing that, you also decrease human interaction, so you can increase the shelf life for the product. So I've learned more about meat packing and food production in the last year than I thought I would need to know. And I grew up next to the stockyards in Sioux City, so yeah.
So the ones that in Carroll County, we're talking about the two, is that beef or pork, or can you say
It's turkeys.
turkeys? Okay.
So I've tipped my hand as to who the company is. So. Because Tyson, JBS, National Beef, and the other, it's not Seaboard, it's not Smithfield, there's
They're not.
Cargill, are not eligible
Is there?
because they're the big four.
Yeah.
You can't be, if you are one of the top 4 manufacturers in a species, you're not eligible for the fund.
Gotcha.
This company, last I checked, is number 6, but USDA has to tell us whether or not they're eligible, but I'm pretty sure they are. We've also had talk with cattlemen's, they're just not ready yet. And that's another reason. This is, getting the money down is important, depending on what our amortization is, 5-year amortization or 10-year amortization on a 5-year balloon, we're going to get the money back sooner, or at least in 5 years, or a shorter amortization schedule, we'll get it back quicker. We do have a couple of companies in our region that are interested. They're just not ready yet. And I know cattlemen's, when we put the project in, they would have been interested in a $10 million loan as part of it.
Am I right after this cycle, would this money be available for lockers and stuff?
Yes, absolutely. And it's available for lockers now. One in
This would be a
Iowa.
way for a lot of them to upgrade their facility.
Yes, yes.
They're going to be less and less.
And we do have, and of course, we have our regular revolving loan funds would also be eligible for all of this. It's just this one, you can get up to a $10 million loan. Our regular revolvers are going to limit. I think if we put everything together, we're like 750 or 800,000, but that's taking out of different pots with the limits that we have. So.
Looks like you got the nod, so
Thank you.
appreciate the update.
And again, if you have any questions about anything, let me know, or send your hard questions with your representative to our board.
And then also, I think everybody got this for their 50th.
You going? Me too.
Okay,
Perfect, thanks, Rick.
thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is to review and approve terrazzo repair invoice / REW invoice.
Well, you said go back to May when they did the asbestos work. Was it June? June, okay.
And that invoice that we got from Jannings, that was 1,600, that was actually billed to REW. So I didn't know if it was billed to REW and REW is gonna pay that, then shouldn't we pay them the full amount?
Then we should
Because
be
they're
paying
paying
them.
REW.
If REW paid it,
No, yeah,
Well, that invoice I got from Jannings for 1,600 was billed to REW, it wasn't billed to the county.
Well, I think that's just who they were doing the quote for. I mean, no work stuff.
Right,
Yeah. I guess I was under the understanding that if we held the $1,600, we could get a hold of Jannings and have them complete the work to this bid. Was, I
yeah, it
think,
doesn't matter to me.
that was the intent.
let's do it that way.
I'll make a motion to hold $1,600 out of the REW invoice and then pay the remainder. And then we will contact Jannings and Sons when we're ready. When the work up there's been completed.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Will you reach out to Jannings? We're gonna make a reach out to that.
You know, yeah.
And I'll just let them know that it's approved and then we will get a hold of them when they're ready. All right, next item on the agenda is to approve payables.
So with that, Courtney, we'll be adding the extra, whatever REW was, correct?
I can, or we can do it next month.
No, I won't do it now. I mean, that's 2 months overdue. What would the total be minus the 1,600?
When you go into DC,
September. 20.
who's going, you, Matt?
48,17,
There's a whole bunch of this one.
Oh, the bunch.
40,817.
Thank you.
So you're adding that already.
I will email him and tell him a check will be cut then, so.
Well, what is total bill days and for the
666, 928, 16 plus 40,817.
for 707,805?
I have 707, 745, 16.
707 what?
745, 16.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve payables and 700 in the amount of $707,745.16, which adds in the REW's invoice. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Signature, Sarah.
All of us.
Yeah.
All right, item number 5, excuse me, is to approve the CDBG down payment assistant program draw number 12. Obviously this program is going to be going away, but they're drawing again, and the amount is for $36,541.
I'll move to approve of that.
I'll second. There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I need your signature in blue ink under this thing. There's a little tiny X there.
Wait a minute.
Your name?
Okay, it's fine.
Miss Earl
This one I get from them has the correct name. So
It's still Miss Earl back sometimes.
I have.
All right, item number 6, appoint Region 12 Regional Housing Authority Board of Directors. Currently, there's a position up for election, and currently James Knott represents Carroll County and has indicated he is willing to continue to serve as the county representative. The new term would be effective October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. Does anybody have any discrepancies with that? Order for a motion to reappoint James Nutt.
I'll make a motion to appoint James Knott for this next year. Carroll County representative.
Actually, yeah, it would be through October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 7, review and approve courthouse HVAC remodel project proposal request number 4.
This ends up being a net positive. I think it's $1,500 for the county. And what it does, if they remove, I think, the one section of the boiler flue on the roof and cap it versus remove the whole thing. And the ADA counters, they had them going on these 4 offices down here all the way across. They're not going to go all the way across, or all the way across, they're only for one section of glass now. And then the counters, the original counters, and the quote went wide enough to maintain the current filing cabinets. So they're adding file cabinets for it. I think that was $6,000 more, but between both of them, this proposal request, the county nets $1,500.
There'd be an ADA compliant counter each.
There will be, it's just not going to be the
It
whole
would be a
length.
section of it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So this is,
This is to approve. This isn't the actual change order yet, but so they can order the millwork and get it started.
what's this approval here?
So that
Since this is what we're approving.
we are approving proposal request for. Yeah,
We're approving the exhaust fluid that he just explained in the ADA check right
Yep.
counter modifications, which doesn't, it's not cost
So
to
not-
the taxpayers.
Two, they're gonna just cap it on the roof,
and they're gonna take one section off and then cap it.
and then we're thinking anything is at all, any of the
Down here,
sections
they're gonna remove this wall and get the wall as close as they can.
around that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So
what,
we're gonna try to square it off.
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
And then they're also putting, I think there's supposed to be an entrance in there too, isn't it? So if they have to,
Run something through it, they can.
Yes, yeah. So they'll have access.
so that's actually a deduct on the contract,
Correct.
$1,500. I will make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, review and approve courthouse HVAC remodel project paint and abatement scope. So through this project, we kind of changed some spaces that are getting finished, not getting finished, and things like that. Before the meeting, we went through And Scott kind of was telling us about what needs to be decided on.
Well, I need a scope of work for the asbestos abatement. As far as how far are we gonna go into the reporter's office and the assessor's office?
Because currently there is carpet there, and if we were ever to replace that carpet, which we all know carpet eventually needs to be replaced, there's tile underneath that. If they remove the carpet, you pull up the tile, which has asbestos in it.
If we were to do it now, those offices would be 100% empty.
Excluding the vaults, which the vaults are not to be touched. Because they're not being moved.
Because through the project, they are being done, so in the current auditor and treasurer's office. So then, in other words, by doing this, we would have basically this whole floor
Abated,
abated and recarpeted.
Except for the two vaults.
except for these
Yeah,
two
except
vaults.
for two walls, that, and I agree that there's no.
You could just carpet over it, you know,
In the vaults, if you ever wanted to.
sure.
But I guess what I'm looking for now is just a consensus on, I don't have a quote yet, but going out for quotes. Because this isn't run through the contractor. This is on. the
I would say
county.
let's go do the quotes on it, see what.
For those two spaces.
For everything else that needs abated, but those two are not on it right now. So I'll add those two to the scope then.
So you're gonna contact REW, add those
And
two to the
somebody else.
scope and somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's,
So yeah, we don't have to take action. There's no action on that today.
but
And
And that's, what's this, is that part of this flooring change, Nate?
no, that's separate. We already approved that one. That was, I think, for the clerk of courts to carpet that area.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Why is that?
I sent Courtney, I
It
had too many
was- Yeah, it was
attachments.
in there, so I just put it.
When she was doing the agenda, I sent one too many.
Yeah.
My bad.
So you're gonna get a quote to do the entire first floor minus the vaults in those two spaces?
correct.
Ratings have a drawing that has the original scope, or I'm sorry, SEH has a drawing they made of where the original plans where we were going to abate.
It'd
And,
be here, right in here,
and yeah,
treasure. We just never added on. No, it makes sense. I think you go ahead. We don't need formal action on that.
I just wanted to
I
know.
think
the
it's
scope as
time,
far as
now's
what
time
you-
to search and look at that research, I should say, not
Yep.
search.
Okay.
Because it makes sense if everything's empty, now would be time to do it.
Okay, item number.
Wait, I'm not, we're not, we
You're
haven't
not done
discussed the
yet.
paint.
Oh,
So
okay.
I should say, we need to make a decision on, there is some paint touch up, the common area, the original bid had no painting being done on the basement level and on the courts level. In the common area and the courts level, there was some damage done up high from the abatement process. So I think the question is, I think we need to paint those areas, should say it appears those areas need painting. And along with downstairs, which is probably gonna be the forever home of the juvenile court officer, that area that used to be public health. The ceilings are out now, there's bad wallpaper in them, whatever, but do we want to try to hire that ourselves? Or do we want to run it through the contractor so that the timing works out with all the different moving pieces of the ceiling coming in, when's the HVAC done? So I guess that would be a question for the board.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. And I kind of visited with Jerry Friday, I went up there, and I didn't go downstairs. You know, like you said, the worst is gonna be scheduling it. And we could probably get it done cheaper. But how you get that scheduled?
Exactly.
And I don't think we wanna hold up this project. Listen. Personally, or have them do a change order. Let them, because then they got more leverage to get it shifted in. Don't you agree?
I'm leaning that way. I mean, there's nothing that says it has to be painted before the courts move back up here. And there's nothing, so
But I think,
it could be, but I mean, to do it the right way, we should do it now.
You
well,
don't,
because otherwise you're gonna have trim around that ceiling.
Exactly.
So now, before they get that ceiling gridded, now would be time to do it.
But really, you're only working with two time constraints. One would be the clerk reports right now. And then the lower level. The time constraints that doesn't concern me. I would rather do it in-house, save that middleman, save the taxpayer dollars.
Not disagreeing.
The only way I would go your way is if we couldn't get a local person to come in and do it.
Why don't we get a bid from both? Ratings and then us.
I think you're gonna have, now, I don't know this for sure, but I'm just waiting, construction is concerned. I think you're gonna have a hard time, that they're probably all booked up.
I think,
I know the one down in town, you're gonna have a hell time getting into it, I think.
but I think we still need to define scope of work regardless who does it. Where are we gonna quit as far as, I think we need to do a walkthrough and decide this wall, this wall, this wall, so it can be clear for whether Batings want to sub it out to somebody or us. But so we're looking,
Or like you were showing me that common areas in that stairwell there.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be easy to
No.
do that job.
but it was, we didn't have it from SCH in our original scope of work, to keep the price down.
Which is fine, but
And it
Who
can,
doesn't
all
touch
the
a
painting can be done. It has nothing to do with operations. It's not gonna slow anything down, whether we paint it or.
but the problem we'll run into, and this is just in my opinion, in that commons area, you pick out a wall, it's gonna look completely different than the other wall. Matching paint that's been up there for 65 years or however long is gonna be dang near impossible. So you're either doing it or you're not. I think
I don't think you can touch it up.
No.
No.
my house, I mean, just,
But it's not time sensitive. If we were. Yeah,
why don't,
I mean,
we can do
imagine
this.
like up there in that stairwell, go up there and try to trim out that ceiling.
no, but it makes sense as like, but this wouldn't be a contractor's first time being in a time frame element. I mean, they're all used to that. I mean, go to the hospital, same thing. I think we need to contact a couple local painters and have Batings bid it out too, and we'll decide from there.
Somebody needs to define the scope of work. How many walls are we gonna paint? How many?
Maybe we need to walk through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right after the meeting, we're gonna be done here in
One off.
5 minutes.
Yeah, this was a no action taken. It was just the scope of work. Again, we're not approving anything, but when it comes to the asbestos abatement, I will include the treasurer and the recorder and the assessor.
We'll do a walkthrough with the paint and then it would be,
Well, and we can have the same issue down here on this floor later on.
yeah.
Especially some that got the walls decorated already.
Okay.
There's some orders we'll need to.
We'll do a walkthrough after this and kind of, since there's no formal action that needs to be made. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 9, approve the plats that we received for Dave Huffman.
Yeah, the owner, Marilyn Huffman, I will make a motion to approve the plat. Let's see. Plat off a house.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, approve inter-fund transfer resolution. Whereas it is desired to transfer monies from the Maple River Water Wastewater Fund 1800 to the local options fund 0019 to repay the debt authorized by the Carroll County Resolution number 2013-02.
You can do the Mount Carmel one with it.
Okay. As well as Mount Carmel wastewater fund 8,000 to the local option fund 0019.
You see a motion to
Yeah.
transfer that?
Yep.
Make a motion to transfer the Maple River wastewater fund and Mount Carmel wastewater fund, the local option fund.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? It is a resolution, so roll call.
Austin,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. I'll pass both of these around and need your signature on my side.
While those are going around, I will go ahead and do the manure management annual updates. For Jason and Nathan Nealon, section 32, Nice Township, no changes. Sanibel site, section 32, Arcadia Township, no changes. Brian Schrader, home section, Schroeder, section 21, Arcadia Township, no changes. Schoen Farms, section 11, Grant Township, no changes. Joe Danner, section 22, Glidden Township, no changes. Bladen Fork, section 17, Union Township, no changes. Gole Nursery. Is that missing that right? Gole Nursery, section 21, Union Township, no changes. Smith Brothers Farm, section 3, Sheridan Township, no changes. And we are to committee reports.
There we go. Last week, Monday, I had conservation, couple things in there. They had a list of they had hail damage, crazy list. So they have a lot of stuff they're going through. Yeah. They
$500,000.
$500,000.
I think it might be a little bit over that.
And then they,
Vehicles and buildings.
yeah. They had flooring, they sent out quotes to re-floor the education center. It was cool. Learned some stuff about that. And the trail update, they're still shouldering. So sooner than later. This week I got ISAC Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Des Moines. That's it.
I can go next. And I gotta go back 2 weeks because we didn't have a meeting, but on the 8th, we had CCGP. We had Jaimar Hernandez. He's with ISU and had a discussion with us in regard to Latin outreach. Then also on that Tuesday, I had policy council. There we went through everything. Went through the school readiness program. And talked about the school district partnership agreements where they have all signed up at that time except for two. That was Coon Rapids and Audubon. The report on the self-assessment report. And also approved the Head Start Early Head Start Continuation Grant, which is year 2 of 5, and also technical assistance grant also. They went and approved the Head Start fall programming schedule and timing. And then we had some updates and some policies and procedures. Then on Thursday, attended the Highway 30 meeting by Zoom. Was not a lot there. And then on Thursday, I had New Opportunities Board meeting. Basically, there again, we went through everything that we did with Head Start. Went through the financials. Everything looks good there. We reviewed the CACFP agreements. Had a discussion on Iowa Health and Human Services and awareness of the future. It's just changeover and things. What's going to happen there? We did approve a contract with the Family Development and Self-Sufficiency Programs, or the FADS 24-1 program for $230,000. And also approved the United Way of Central Iowa 2023-24 investment agreement, and then had some discussions on low energy, low income home energy assistance, and also on weatherization, and also had discussion on low income housing, water association. That is going to come to an end. They did not have a lot of participation in that on the statewide level. So that was that. Then this week I had CCGP executive board meeting. There we went through the financials and also in regard to with 712 hub, and we're looking for fellows to be part of that. That grant has advanced for the first time. That worked through like 3 different advances. And we had some discussion in regard to the rural innovation grant, 50,000, and also the housing assessment, retail coach, and private investment. Then Friday. You missed out on time, Phil, on the camera should have rolled this minute. You could have made a movie of it.
Really?
You can't make crap up like this.
Yes, sir.
Hold on. Anyway. We had a discussion and vote. We did allow, Nebraska is going to be joining us.
What?
Nebraska, state of Nebraska, for $225 a day, but they will not have a seat on the board. They did approve the financials and also voted on the depository resolution. We had some other things that got kind of scratched off because they had, what was the deal? They had something happen. That burned up all the computers. Had a flash through or something. But anyway. Been busy up there. Lot of gang activity that's been going on. So when they get them in there, they have to split them up between the different gangs. So
How much from Carroll County right now?
right now we did not, but Friday we did not have anybody up there. So yeah, that one's gone. Anyway, but then it's just been the young lady and the guy that was involved with shooting up with Webster companies up there, and it's romantic thing going on, trying to keep them separated, put it on the halls, and they're getting notes passed away through the whole thing, and it just it was very interesting. God, signaling by their cat calls, and but anyway, for June they had 12.3 average daily attendance or plants up there in July was 13.93. Those are high numbers.
My numbers.
Yes,
For how many counties?
Huh?
How many counties?
There's 14 member county, 15 bed.
Woodbury have most of them.
Oh, Woodbury's got their own.
Oh, yes. I'll talk about later.
Anyway, and then as of Friday, there was 11 up there. I can tell you right now that they also provide a report on accounts receivable, which is down, but it's still high. 69,287. And we owed $1,795 a time. I think we paid most of that already. So, but I can show you here what the counties have got up there. Those are very interesting meetings. This week I have CCGP on Tuesday, and then Wednesday through Friday I'll be at ISAC.
Over the next, going back 2 weeks, August 7th, had a meeting with SCH and Baiting on the scheduled every 3 weeks. August 8th, CCGP at noon. And then at 3 o'clock, Dalton and I had a phone call with the state courts on cabling. August 9th was HIPAA training. August 10th was Santa Maria Winery Human Trafficking. August 11th, came for coffee at the city maintenance garage. August 15th, recycling center, executive board meeting. 16th was owner architect contractor meeting, courthouse HVAC. And then Courtney and Dalton and I did a walkthrough to look at the wiring and data. The court is desiring, the courts are desiring. August 17th, I had a scope of work with potential movers looking to get a bid for the October timeframe. August 18th, I went out to the engineer's office and here in the claims. And this week, tomorrow, there's a meeting like Courtney's in it and Dalton is about CIT technology visit. CCGP at noon. Then Wednesday through Friday is ISAC. And new ambulance might get delivered today.
Might get delivered tonight.
Today it's been forever.
Okay, I think I'm last. I was gone last week, so it's no official meetings. I did have a couple phone calls when I was on. This week, I will be at the ISAC conference Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up, Courtney, I noticed we did the employee notice in the pay stubs. And it could be me, I guess, maybe, but the first paycheck in January would tentatively be January 23rd. Isn't that the 19th? No.
I want to talk to you guys about that.
Okay. That's all I got. And then also I'm sending around a packet from REC. They are having a annual annual in Glennon, September 6th. I will be attending. If anybody else wants to go, let us know.
What's it for?
It's just their annual meeting. They do it every year, discuss
Okay.
projects and things like that.
Usually.
Somebody from the board typically goes, and I do,
Sure.
yeah, I do plan on attending. So.
I would like to go back to the CS Center. I forgot to report. Last year we got like, it was like not quite 80,000 from state funds. This year we're looking at 165,000. It should be coming up next day or two. The reason that's jumped so much is because during COVID, the governor, nobody had to pay these OW fines. So that's all coming back.
You finally have got a positive from the state.
Yeah.
I think-
I'll let you.
I think that needs to be front page news.
Okay, Courtney, what do we got? You got anything?
Not for next week, I don't think.
All right, we are in order, a motion to
We're
adjourn.
still discussing others.
Not an open session.
Oh,
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
I don't expect any decisions today. I just sort of cheat sheet.